So welcome to our Fireside chat with Parabellyx and Cognni, where we'll be discussing such topics as collaboration security, strategies and solutions as they relate to the current business environment. With me, I've got Lior Mash, who's the Director of Sales and Business Development at Cognni, as well as Alexander Poizner, CEO and Co-Chief Cyber Strategist with Parabellyx. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Thanks a lot for having us.
As we take you through some of the chaos that we've got going on, I've got a couple of questions lined up for you this morning. One of the first ones that I have lined up is, just bear with me. Everybody expects that the COVID-19 pandemic is going to have long-term effects on how organizations operate. And what do you gentlemen think are the long-term effects on collaboration? What are the new collaboration trends that will emerge in the post-COVID-19 world? Lior, I'll start with you.
Wonderful. So yeah, that's a great question. And I think that what we are expecting is first and foremost is it's a change in mentality, and it's a change in work philosophy, where offices will become a less significant as they are today for employees to come and meet and engage. And we will see more and more collaboration tools that are going to make the distance disappear. So engagement will be something. Let's say that remote engagement is going to be something that it's going to be more cultural thing, and as cultural thing, it's going to grow with time. So we are going to see more and more organizations cutting down in the amount of real estate that they are currently invested, and will invest more in cloud collaboration tools and engagement tools, so their employees will be adapting to the new cultural, let's say, trends in the new world.
Right, and this is with this large paradigm shift that's going on right now. Alex, how do you see it playing out?
Well, I agree with Lior that the investment in real estate is going to be much less significant than the investment in the collaboration tools. I also see that as we have questioned in the last little while whether the globalization is going to continue as a trend past the COVID-19 pandemic, but I think what will happen is we will see globalization in a different way. We will see globalization not from the perspective of the supply chain, but from the perspective of collaboration itself. I mean, it wouldn't really matter once the companies will invest in the proper collaboration technologies where the employee sits and what country they're working from. So we will see much bigger teams, much bigger global teams. And at the same time, we will also see much more independence by everybody who is working, because no longer they will be in the same office, no longer they will be dependent on basically deciding within a very small confined group the rules of engagement. Most of the work will be done independently, remotely, and will be done by either individuals or very small groups, which means that they will have to make a lot of decisions by themselves.
Excellent. Now, in the first few weeks of the lockdown, we've seen a variety of things. We've seen Maslow's hierarchy in action for both individuals and organizations. And it's good to know that we've moved from a clearly physiological needs for business to safety and beyond. We've moved from getting business to work to the next stage of getting businesses to work safely. Now, safety is a big subject. We're talking about health, resources, financial, physical, but also cyber. Gentlemen, what are the top priorities for organizational cyber safety in our locked down world? Alex?
Well, I think as we are moving down, or rather up, a Maslow triangle of the needs, it's same thing with the cybersecurity triangle of needs. Initially, everybody was scrambling around not another collaboration, but rather remote access. How do we get employees access to the resources? Now that this problem is mostly solved, we're moving on to the next topic, and this is we had a breakdown in the processes. People are no longer in the office. Even support people and cybersecurity people are no longer in the office. So all of the processes that we have built for people working from offices are not working as efficiently or may not be working at all. Security is at the point where they have to redesign a lot of processes. And also they will have to take a look at the collaboration again, because no longer employees are presumably in a single place. No longer you can assume that employees are doing the work from the corporately issued machine. No longer they are doing it in the environment that is locked down and secure. Cybersecurity will have to look and design the processes to secure the new environment. It's much harder to control what people are doing remotely from home. We will see that since the employees are much more independent, making decisions independently of others, and may have issues getting advice, including the cybersecurity advice, we will need to make sure that they're tooled to make those decisions well, especially when it comes to cybersecurity, especially when we see a rise in fraud, a rise in ransomware. And I think this is the biggest focus of cybersecurity professionals in the days to come. Lior?
So in correspondence to what Alex says, and I believe it's very accurate, pointing the processes side, as work behaviors and work processes are changing, also policies and processes about using information and how information is being accessed is going to demand a second review, and we will see more. We will see a growing demand for zero trust methodologies and processes that are going to be implemented across the organization, across different data sources, and the phrase of knowing your data will be amplified and will get a different meaning when organizations will definitely demand to know what is your data, who is using it, with whom, and where it resides. And I think that this will all be amplified in the way that more and more information is going to be used by using more cloud sharing, more cloud collaboration and sharing tools, and the amount of those activities is going to be enormous. And in order to really be able to understand all this information and to be able to manage this structured and unstructured information, we will see more and more automation tools help a limited staff with doing a much bigger and much or supporting much bigger and much larger operations. And no doubt that we will see more and more machine learning and AI. Well, this is a buzzword, but machine learning and AI kind of solutions that will take a more active role within the decision-making process in order to distinguish, to help organizations to distinguish those potential risk activities and help the organization to thrive in a leaner operational capacity.
And Lior, I think you hit a nail on the head here, because yes, we're talking about cybersecurity, but one of the things that is fundamental to data security is data management. And data management as a government practice itself is, in most of the enterprises, not the strongest point. I mean, this is a practice that is much newer than cybersecurity. A lot of companies are still struggling with it, and just because of the vast amounts of data, just because of the number of paths the data takes in the organization and out of the organization, it's probably going to be hard for purely human management of this data. So this is where AI will probably pick up and do a lot of behind the scenes work. This is where AI is going to be very important, because it's something out of the boundary of human capabilities to react fast and react at all to the vast amount of data that we have.
Definitely. And if I may add another thing here, in this era where amount of data, where the growing amount of data that is being shared, moved, or transferred in order to drive business more efficiently, it will not be a matter of machine learning and artificial intelligence capabilities that will replace people. It will make people more efficient. It will make people more focused on the most actual things that request their cognitive capabilities to be able to drive the company's business operations in a more effective way, which in the end of the day will result a more successful business operations. That I believe that those kind of organizations that will adapt those kind of solutions, they will find themselves in the forefront of their business efficiency, and in the end of the day, they will be able to focus on what their business is all about.
Yeah, and again, the big question that the data management is just beginning to solve right now is, I mean, the data is that moves around the organization. How do we classify it? I mean, forget the security classifications, but is it a legal data? Is it an HR data? Is it some kind of customer private information or employee private information? There is a problem to solve even that issue, never mind the issue of how do we start securing each of those data movements. So that's something that should start developing really rapidly in the days to come as the data is now moving out of the company, because when you have employees working from home, well, guess what? The data is moving out of the company, even if it's moving securely.
Definitely.
Right, and gentlemen, that brings me to my next question. Right? Collaboration is something that helps organizations move beyond the current safety needs and into belonging and collaborating and adapting workflows, but there are still dangers that are lurking here. And I mean, obviously, external threats are still coming from malicious players, but there are many more smaller, subtle threats emerging that can cause significant damage to organizations. And these are being introduced by the so-called gray areas in collaboration and data sharing, the increase in size and risk due to the rapid shift in how we're working. So, gentlemen, what do you see as some of the risks that may emerge or re-emerge in this situation? And how can organizations reduce these? We'll start with Lior.
You know, gray areas is a very interesting topic, and we can look at gray areas from different perspectives. For example, gray area can be new employees, okay, or let's say the transparent employees in the organization that are not only new to the organization, they are new to processes, they are new to regulations, they are new to policies, they are new to methodologies that the organization has implemented in order to make sure that not only they can do their job, but the organization is going to be compliant. And for example, third-party information is going to be used in a proper way. So how can you know that, for example, the PA of the CEO and all the secretaries of all the directors and the board members and the C-level management are using their information in a way that is A, compliant, B, okay to use, C, any activity that they did with the information will not result any risk in some kind of a time frame. And you can apply the same for the newcomer in the HR department or the recent hired employees in the legal department or any other department. And that's a huge gray area that's not that easy to overlook, and especially where we can see in large organizations that they have globally distributed teams. It's very hard to maintain and overlook those different activities that are happening, and understanding who are those entities that are new to the company, they are new to the policy, they are new to the regulations, and might put our company in a very sensitive situation.
Yes, to your point, Lior, there are a lot of issues with that. I mean, the way we as humans are designed to operate is we are looking for the path of least resistance. I mean, we have a lot on our plate and we are trying to optimize the way. So we are focused on completing certain tasks. We may not be thinking about, hey, is it safe to do it this way or should I do it some other way? We're saying, I need to have it done in the next few hours. So this is how I'm going to do it because I think I know this is going to work. And as a result, we've seen a lot of scenarios where, for example, you have an executive assistant that is trying to print some confidential report, doesn't matter for board of directors or shareholders or even some of the confidential internal reports, and she cannot because her connection to printer is not working. So she's sending that report to somebody who sits next to her saying, hey Jane, can you please print it for me? It doesn't look like my printer is working and I don't know when the support person is going to come back to me, but the VP that I'm working with, he needs that report in the next 5 minutes. And here we are, we've already seen a collaboration risk, or even between the organizations where you have an external party supporting some of your customer applications, and then something is not working, and somebody from an internal team sends an email to external team saying, hey guys, look, here's a spreadsheet with some customer information, live customer information. Can you please use that to look up the transactions and troubleshoot some? In both situations, we see a significant risk from those collaboration workflows. However, again, those collaboration workflows are not really illegal. Those collaboration flows are pretty normal in our workspace. So that's why in a lot of cases, organizations don't even know that those things are happening. So without knowing, how can they create the rules to govern what people should do? So that's the first fundamental issue with collaboration security. We're still having so many unknowns. We cannot really govern, and because we cannot govern, we cannot use the technology to protect.
I appreciate the fact that you had mentioned the path of least resistance, and as businesses are trying to capitalize on this unexpected digital gold rush, there's a tendency to cut corners and cut standard security protocols and deliver products and services faster and cheaper from at the demand of senior management. In this rush to get and grab market share, or just to get back to normal, security is usually the first thing that's sacrificed. So what would be your advice to business leaders and consumers to avoid these potential disasters, Alex?
First of all, Mike, I think that we need to learn lessons from the previous gold rush. I mean, the last gold rush, as far as I think in America, was Yukon Dawson City gold rush, where yes, a lot of people got rich, but also a lot of people did not get rich, and a lot of people actually died on the way. A lot of people failed because they were not prepared. They were not prepared from the supplies perspective. They could not remove the risks from their travel. And that's what's going to happen again. As in any gold rush, it's a rush. People are trying to move as fast as possible. People look at security as something that slows them down. What they don't understand is when you move fast, your risks are actually increasing in all directions. When that happens, you need something to remediate the risk, because all of a sudden, even the risks that would be non-significant in the normal operations are now considered as black swans. Those risks will have much higher, pretty much disproportional effect on the organization when the organization is moving fast and abandoning all of the principles of safety. That's why my advice to all of the businesses that are going after the market share in this new digital gold rush is understand that you have to move fast, understand that your security needs to work at the speed of the business. However, don't discard the security. Discarding security is the first principle of abandoning your safety, and hence the risk that the company is going to fail all of a sudden becomes much higher. I would even estimate it in 90% or above.
All right, and Lior, as things are getting crazy, do you have any advice to give to business leaders and consumers?
I believe that it's sometimes coming to a very fundamental question: who is owning the risk? When the management is expecting information security, or they're expecting cybersecurity teams to own the risk, sometimes it means that they are inviting them to the big table so they can describe and better articulate about the security posture of the company. And most of the time they are not really ready. The management is not really ready or being able to digest what those security professionals has to say, and therefore we see the decision making going from the management to the security. But I believe that we are seeing a growing trend, and it varies from a CISO to CISO, that the growing need is for the management to acknowledge the risk. And it means that owning the risk is not only under the CISO's responsibility, but it's a collective mission, that the CISO is becoming an advisor to the board, is becoming the compass, and he should come with the best synthesized information that will help the board to own the risk and understand that it's a collective mission for them both to take. And in the end of the day, they should not be sacrificing, as Alex said, they should not be sacrificing security over other stuff, because owning the risk is just the beginning. And then comes all the operations and all the hard work and all the hours over hours, behind the scenes, that is done behind the scenes, to be able to quantify that risk in a way that together at the big table, big decisions are going to be taken. And nothing like that will be happening if the CISO will not have the right tools to help him doing his job. And most of the time, management is coming to the CISO and tell him, protect my information. And the CISO, he needs to have, or he expecting to have, the right budgets and the right tools to be able to do that. So when you are able to show to the management what is at risk, and what are the current trends that are happening in the company, and what kind of solutions he's testing at the moment that are bringing him the right value, not only for his money, because sometimes, as Alex says, there is the gold rush that companies are going after the market share, but the market share is not only a proof that something is working. The market share sometimes comes from a place where there is an actual need that should be serving the crowd, and the crowd is the global economy. And the CISO will be able to provide much more insights that will eventually drive the business to own the risk as much as he does. And it will be a collective mission, and that's the collective mission that the CISO is looking for, to be part of it. Not to be a part of the table, but to be part of the decision making, to be part of the general success or the general immunity of the organization towards risk.
Well, that's great. I appreciate that, Leo. That's very, very well. That's very clear. Gentlemen, we're coming up on our time. Before we wrap things up, we've touched on the first stage of businesses getting back to work, and the second stage of making the work safe and secure. The third stage is coming. We don't know what it is. And as the business world works its way back towards normal, is there anything that you think businesses and owners and management should start preparing for in the coming weeks and months? Alex?
I think as things are getting into the new normal, businesses should do, first of all, is what is the business continuity in the normal? And that involves a lot of cybersecurity questions as well. But also the businesses should stop and ask themselves a question. Do I understand the new risks in the data management? Because those are the risks that are going to drive a lot of things that will need to be done, or the focus that need to shift in cybersecurity, but also in business operations. So those are the things that are fairly subtle to a point where a lot of business executives don't think about. For them, it phew, we've passed the stage where it was a complete chaos. We are up and running. Looks like we have stabilized operations. I think we're doing great now. Let's go on and try to understand how we can start recovering from the amount of business that we have lost during the pandemic. In this situation, people don't really think about risks that much, but data management risks are going to those are the risks that may hit organization, both from regulatory compliance perspective, but also from an additional loss of confidence from the customer perspective, as well as some of business partners, suppliers, things that you cannot afford in the environment that we have right now. So I think those are very important things for the business executives to consider, the risks to the data management and how those may impact the business continuity.
And yourself, Lior, is there anything that you think businesses should keep top of mind over the next short period?
I believe that we are looking towards a new reality that is like some kind of an A/B test. We are looking forward towards some kind of an A/B test where we are expecting to come back to work, but the environmental there are too many moving parts in the new reality and the new environmental conditions that will show us and will give us some kind of a new feedback that we were not expecting. I guess that we should be super responsive and super attentive to the new reality and the new feedbacks and the new comments, not only externally from our business partners and clients, but also from the employees. And this will be something that will help organizations that will be willing to listen and hear. They will be able to adapt quickly instead of going for the long run and miss out all the small signals of agility that might have helped them to be super responsive to their partners, to their business colleagues, and eventually to the employees that are responsible every day to do whatever they can to be in contact with those business partners and clients.
Lior, Alex, we've covered some pretty broad subjects: business continuity, collaboration, security, strategies, and planning. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate your time and your insight. Before we close this out, is there anything else that you'd like to add, Alex?
We are just at the beginning of the road to the global collaboration that will not require an office space, and that's why it's a great time for business to start planning, and that's where all of the conversations about the collaboration risks will start coming out. Obviously, as those conversations come out, there is a lot of conversations about how do we understand what are those risks are, how do they manifest themselves in the company. And that's why it's great to have a company such as Cognni joining us at the Fireside. I really appreciate, Lior, for you doing this, even though it's closer to the end of your workday in Tel Aviv. Cognni is one of the companies that looking forward into the future, helping companies to cover those collaboration risks. And I think that this is the technology that will define the future of collaboration.
And Lior, last words?
I think that Alex really summarized it beautifully. We do believe that it's not it's actually, the big ones. They sometimes they have so many resources to innovate and change. Guys like Google has already declared they are not going to demand their employees to come back to their working places for sure in the next 8 months. So we are at the verge of a great paradigm shift where opportunities are going to be endless and challenges are going to be are going to overwhelm us, as we will continue with overlooking the business continuity. And by business continuity, we will see the new ways that our working behaviors and our working patterns are going to change, and that will result for sure the way that we behave with information. And in the end of the day, I believe that Cognni has a very, let's say, simple way of putting it in words when it tries to apply its algorithms. And Cognni is not a security company in that context. Is an algorithm company that helps organizations understand what is their data, know your data, where it is, who is sharing what and with whom, was it shared externally, internally, what is the meaning of it. If we can do even the smallest thing to help organizations to not only to understand their data, but help them to maintain their business in the way that their operations are not affected or anything else is in question, I believe that we are leaning towards a beautiful world where collaborations like Cognni and Parabellyx are providing huge value to a very interesting new world that is just at our doorstep.
All right. The one common sentiment here between both of you is, I think that this is just the beginning of the conversation, and it's the beginning of a global shift in the way that we all work. I'm looking forward to gaining some more perspective on the next time we get together. Alex, Lior, thank you very much for your time today. Great conversation.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Lior.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Stay safe.